Coming up on this edition of Second Alarm, we'll meet the newest tool in the fight against arson. He's big, he drools, he's playful, and he loves his job. And with summer here, we'll have tips to keep your family safe around water. These stories and much more coming up on this edition of Second Alarm. Hello and welcome to Second Alarm. I'm Assistant Chief Brian Schaefer. Each year, arson fires cause millions of dollars of property damage in the inland Northwest. The Spokane Valley Fire Department has a new accelerant detection canine that will be a wonderful asset to fire departments in the area. We caught up with Mako and his handler during a recent training session.
Mako, down. Good boy. This right here is Mako. He is the county's first accelerant detection dog. He was, we were able to get him at the Valley Fire Department through a grant from State Farm Insurance. What he looks for at a fire scene is accelerants, gasoline, kerosene, paint thinners, that sort of thing. Couple of drops on the ground, and we're good to go. He'll be able to find that in this room in a matter of a couple minutes. Down. Down, good boy, okay. And then we'll go ahead and put the pouch on, make a big deal about it. Mako, just let him watch us put it on. Mako, go work, wanna go work? Huh? Okay, all right, let's go. And then we're off to the races. He's 2 years old, and he's one heck of a dog. He loves his job. He'll track the wind. The wind was kind of blowing towards us there. We'll let him walk around the outside of the building real quick, get his bearings. Basically what he's doing, he's following that wind in. Now we'll let him kind of get in. He's like a kid, he's got to get inside and he's got to have some fun. Show me. Mako, show me. Good boy, stay. Mako is a food reward animal, and what that means is he only eats when he finds an accelerant. So we have to train every day, 365 days a year. He eats several small meals, sometimes 3, 4, 5 meals a day, but it's always when he finds an accelerant. Show me. That's a good boy. Good boy. Always praise. Little verbal praise, little love. Good boy. Little food. We've always had a message of fire safety. You know, every department's goal is to protect the citizens, and one way to do that is from stopping fires from happening. Well, Mako here gives us the opportunity to get more people to come talk to us. He's kind of a magnet. People want to come over and see the dog, and he's a very friendly animal, 2 years old, little goofy. Loves to play, loves to lick, and loves to be petted, and loves the attention. So they come over to see him, and that gives me an opportunity to talk about fire safety, whether it's check your smoke detectors, whether it's have a fire extinguisher in the kitchen, have an exit plan, or just keep matches and lighters away from small kids. It gives us that chance to have a moment or two with the citizens that we wouldn't normally get. And after every play, after every session, it's just nothing but praise and love for the boy, because he did a good job. Get the food pouch off and we tell him what a good job he did. We let him lick our hand and get it all clean. Yeah, good boy.
Summer is finally here in Spokane, and many people are taking to the area's rivers and lakes to cool off. Unfortunately, each year, the Spokane Fire Department's swift water rescue team responds to people who fail to respect the power and hidden dangers of the Spokane River. Water rescue team member Jeff Estes has more on how to stay safe around the river.
No matter what time of year it is, there's always dangerous and deadly spots in the Spokane River. One of the things people don't realize, even on a hot day like today, it's still easy to get hypothermic in the river because the water is still really, really cold. You'll still see the water rescue guys wearing protective gear year-round, no matter how hot it gets outside. But yeah, when the weather starts to warm up, people want to get in the river more. We see a lot of people out that have been drinking alcohol, which is never a good idea. Everybody's getting out there and trying to raft and tube the river, and we see a lot of people out there without any kind of flotation on at all, which, you know, we always recommend anytime anybody's in the river, always have flotation on, no matter what their swimming ability. When the water level's really high, there are some areas of the river that may actually look pretty calm, just because the features underneath, the boulders and logs and things like that, won't churn up the water, so it looks relatively smooth. But there's still that underwater hazard. You know, if a person was to be swimming in the river like that, you may not notice a piece of rebar sticking up out of an old chunk of concrete, a log, the branches of a bush that may be underneath you, and that may be enough to tangle you up and get you into trouble really fast. You know, the river's always changing water levels from day to day when it goes up and when it goes down. So the danger zones may not be in the same spot every day. You may come back a week from now and you might have a snag hazard or a drowning hazard, you know, 500 yards upstream, as to where before, when the water level was a little higher or a little lower, it may not have existed at that time. But people underestimate the power of the river. And, you know, I mean, it looks really fun to sit in there and wade out, you know, just right off the shore. But if you can drown in a river in water that deep if you get a foot entrapment. If you get ankle trapped in a rock and pushed face down, there's no way you're going to get yourself back up against the current. You know, just things like that, like letting the kids wander out into the river unsupervised, it just takes a second for them to get swept away.
Many families find relief from the summer heat at many of the Spokane public swimming pools. The Spokane Parks Department has tips to keep your children safe this summer.
2007 Parks Group bond, we were able to get all these new facilities, and you know, we saw an increase in attendance, and we wanted to make sure that we had facilities that were available with a little bit more features, more current, you know, popular features such as the slides and splash pads, stuff like that. And so now we've seen even more increase in attendance. Kids love to recreate and stay cool in the summertime, especially in these hot days. You know, it's important to have a place that all the citizens of Spokane can come and recreate. We've partnered with the fire department over the past couple of years to kind of streamline our patient care. You know, if something was to happen at the pools, we want to make sure that our staff is trained and ready to respond. We do have American Red Cross lifeguards here. They're trained to national standards, and we want to make sure that we're working with the fire department as a team to ensure that we have safety of the citizens in mind. I would say the most important thing is to make sure you come in and share the recreation time with your child, especially if they're under 10. Right now, our current rules are anyone that's 9 and under has to be accompanied by an adult 18 or older, and that's really for their safety. You know, the lifeguards obviously are here to prevent emergencies from happening, and if they do happen to respond to them, but it's nice to have that extra backup and have the parents able to answer any questions, medical questions should something arise, and to just recreate with their child and be available to their child at all times. So, you know, we do have some issues where people will drop off their kids and consider this somewhat of a babysitting service. And though we definitely want to make sure that we're watching the kids, it's important that the parents come in and recreate with their children as well. So that's really what we're trying to enforce. It's important, especially in the self-esteem of the little child that's visiting the pool, to be able to swim comfortably. And you know, a lot of kids we find when we do have to jump in and rescue someone, it's because the child wasn't really aware of their surroundings and wandered too deep into the water, or they weren't really comfortable swimming in, you know, a large portion of water away from the wall. And you know, part of that is being proactive and making sure that your child has you know, proper swim instruction prior to entering the pool. And we do realize that that's not always available to people, but even if the parent comes and teaches the basics of swimming, floating on your back, that kind of stuff. But you know, if you do have some money to spend on swim instruction, it's, you know, a lifelong skill that can be learned. We teach American Red Cross Learn to Swim classes, and we've had great success with those. We teach approximately 2,000 kids a summer how to swim, and you know, like I said, that's a life skill. So we have those available preschool age. We have mommy and me classes all the way up to adults and senior levels. We also have our swim team, the Aqueducts, that's available for those that are have more competitive edge to them.
Being safer on the water means knowing how to perform CPR on an infant or a child. Dr. Scott Edminster shows us how to perform these life-saving procedures.
When people think about CPR, they tend to be thinking about older folks. And in fact, the truth of the matter is, in the city of Spokane anyway, most people who have cardiopulmonary arrest fall, or the largest age group category is the age between 50 and 60 years of age. But it also occurs in children, and it's very important for every parent, every aunt, every uncle, every grandparent, every brother and sister to know how to do cardiopulmonary resuscitation on a child. Children do have cardiopulmonary arrests. In general, their cardiopulmonary arrests are preceded by some sort of airway problem or a respiratory problem that leads to hypoxia, hypercarbia, all of those biochemical changes that cause them to go into cardiac arrest. And for that reason, we have a little bit of a different approach to children than we do to adults. For the purposes of determining when to start cardiopulmonary resuscitation, in other words, how to define cardiopulmonary arrest, we define it by two things. Number one, the patient is not responsive to the usual stimuli. In other words, you shout, you shake, you tap them on the shoulder, they don't respond. And number two, they're breathing abnormally. Not necessarily not breathing, but breathing abnormally. They could be breathing very slowly, they could be snoring, but if they're non-responsive and they're not breathing normally, that is by definition, or at least by functional definition, that is cardiopulmonary arrest, and those patients need immediate cardiopulmonary resuscitation. Now, because of this difference that I just pointed out between adults and children etiologies of cardiopulmonary arrest, it's important to remember that kids need air. Adults, hands-only CPR is now what we recommend, but in children it's different. In children, because of the fact that it's frequently preceded by respiratory failure or an airway obstruction, we strongly recommend that the patient be given air. So if you determine that the child is in cardiopulmonary arrest, you start chest compressions at a rate of 100 per minute, just like with adults. And the only difference really is that after every 30 compressions, you stop and give 2 breaths. You should not spend a lot of time giving those breaths because it's very important for you to not stop the forward flow that you've established by doing chest compressions. Every time you stop chest compressions, you lose a little bit of the ground that you've gained, and you have to regain that back. So you're giving up ground every time you stop to do the respirations. But given the probable etiology of the arrest in a child, it's important to give them air. So if there's just one person doing the resuscitation, then you have to stop the chest compressions after 30 compressions, do 2 quick breaths, taking about a second per breath, and then right back on the chest, 30 compressions, 2 breaths, 30 compressions, 2 breaths, until the advanced providers arrive, the EMTs, paramedics, and the patient could be transported to a hospital. There are some differences in the way we approach the very young child as opposed to the relatively older child. So for those purposes, we sort of divide them into 2 groups. The group that's 0 to 1 year of age, infants, and the people that are children, ages 1 to 8. When they're over 8 years of age, generally we treat them the same way we would an adult. So the children who are between 1 year and 8 year of age, we do the chest compressions the same way we would with an adult. We use the butt of our hand, put it on the sternum, compress a third of the sternal depth, which is usually going to be about 2 inches in a kid, just like it would be in an adult. In the infant, then it's 2/3 of the chest dimension is going to be more like 1 inch or 1.5 inches is usually what's recommended. So about 1.5 inches, a little bit less depth than with the older child. The other difference is that in the infant, you want to use your fingertips. You want to put them right in the middle of the sternum, just below the nipples, and do your compressions with your fingertips because they have a much more compliant chest wall than the older children. It's always important to bear in mind that these children who have cardiopulmonary arrest might very well be choking. So if there's any indication that this is a choking episode, one would want to, of course, apply the appropriate measures for relieving that problem. And if that is noticed before the child actually goes into cardiopulmonary arrest, then there are some things that can be done. If the child is in the age group of 1 to 8, the preferred methodology is an abdominal thrust, or what we refer to as a Heimlich maneuver, where you put your fist on the child's belly and compress forcefully, quickly, and try to force air up out of the airway and eject the foreign body. You can do that repeatedly. If the child happens to be obese, which is increasingly a phenomenon, at least in this country, you might want to use a chest compression. That's going to be more effective. So you do the same thing by putting your hand on the child's chest and compressing. In the age group that's under 1 year of age, 0 to 1 year of age, the preferred methodology, the recommended methodology, is that you do a back blow where you turn the child face down, back up, across your lap, you deliver 5 back blows. If that doesn't work, you flip them over and you deliver 5 chest blows. If that doesn't work, you flip them back over and do 5 back blows, and keep doing that until either the foreign body is dislodged or help arrives. Or if the child goes into cardiopulmonary arrest, becomes limp and non-responsive and is breathing abnormally, you would put them on the floor and start cardiopulmonary resuscitation. Usually these situations are pretty emotion-laden, and particularly when it's a child, it's difficult for people to remain clear-headed and objective. And for that reason, we recommend, the Spokane Fire Department and all the EMS agencies in the county recommend that recommend people to take some sort of course on this where they can actually practice on a mannequin, so that they can be a little bit more objective when these situations occur.
If you would like more information on CPR and see an instructional video on hands-only CPR for adults, please visit our website at www.spokanefire.org. Fire equipment operator Tony Ewan was recently chosen as a finalist in the Treetop Apple Juice Best Firehouse Barbecue. Tony has a reputation for being one of the best cooks in the Spokane Fire Department. As part of his entry, he produced a short video highlighting his recipe.
I'm Tony Ewan, and I'm a firefighter for the city of Spokane. But before I was a fireman here, I was a kid growing up in Hawaii. One of the things we Hawaiians are known for is our hospitality. That's not something that just happens. This attitude of caring for others is passed down generation to generation. This desire to help others translates well into the fire service. And we also take care of each other so we can take care of our citizens. I'm the cook at my fire station, and I would like to share with you my family's recipe for Pulehu barbecue sauce. I use Treetop apple juice. I guess using Treetop products is another thing that has been passed down in my family from generation to generation. Here's the recipe really quick. 3 cups Treetop apple cider, tablespoon hot sauce, 4 cloves mince, 1 tablespoon ginger grated, 1/4 cup brown sugar, 1/4 cup molasses and ketchup, and 1/4 cup each of apple cider vinegar and soy sauce. It's a snap to make. Just combine all the ingredients in a saucepan and bring it to a boil. I want to show you what this barbecue sauce can do.
Tony, when's lunch?
Now!
That looks good.
Tony's outdone himself again.
Let's eat, Tony's. Looks great. Which sucker we gotta call?
So close.
Letter 13.
Tell them aloha.
That's all for this edition of Second Alarm. We welcome your comments and suggestions. Please send us an email at fire@spokanefire.org or give us a call at 509-625-7000. You can check back episodes of Second Alarm at our website at www.spokanefire.org. Thanks again for watching, and please stay safe.